This is truly one of the wildest business stories I've ever been a part of and really ever heard of in the entrepreneurial space. We sold an auto glass company, our company here in St. Louis, in October of 2025. It was a company that I started with zero experience in the industry. And it all began because of a dinky little website that I built in 2018 as I started to learn about digital marketing, SEO, and the Google Business Profile. We had just the website and a Google Business Profile, and over the next couple of years started to get a ton of inbound leads. Those inbound leads, though, were not from paid ads. We didn't have a ton of fancy branding. We had literally zero industry background. Just the website, Google, and a way of figuring things out in the process. And today I want to walk you through that entire roller coaster. I've gotten a lot of questions since we've been posting about it over the last couple of years since we launched the company in 2021, and then especially with our exit that came in October of 2025. So let's go back and rewind the tape to 2018. I built a very basic, honestly kind of ugly looking Weebly website for auto glass repair of STL. And at the time, I can't really remember why I picked auto glass repair. I was trying to figure out what industries I could rank easily on Google, what industries had a lot of volume, what industries had a lot of repeat customers, lifetime value, high ticket stuff. And so I was building stuff everywhere. So with this website, we literally had no master plan. There was no long-term vision. It was really just a test. And then I got a Google Business Profile that I hooked up to it, and I just let it sit while we started to do some of the SEO stuff. And then by 2019, months into us building the website, it started to get some leads, some legit calls, forms. It was proof of concept. There was real demand that was coming into it. And by the end of 2019, we're talking about 30, 40, 50 calls a month that were qualified. So that real demand was there. But I had zero confidence in my ability to sell digital marketing. So essentially what I was doing is I was just feeding the leads to other people, regardless if it was this website or any of the other websites that we built. So instead of running a traditional digital marketing agency at the time, I did what I felt was the easiest thing to do to make where it was a no-brainer for the person that was taking the calls. So I found a one-man auto glass operator here locally in St. Louis, and I said, hey, here's what I'm getting. I gave him 30 days worth of calls and leads for free, and he absolutely loved it. And he was like, how much is this going to cost? And I just randomly came up with the number $300 a month. That was it. No contract, no revenue share, just $300. As many calls as you can get, or as we can get for you, you're just going to pay $300. And looking back on it, that was absolutely insane because the amount of calls that he was getting, if you were to get just clicks on Google, those clicks on Google can cost $5, $10, $15. He was getting at some point in time $1 qualified lead. So it was a huge win for him. And at the time it felt like it was a win-win for me too. But yeah, looking back, it was absolutely insane. Then something unexpected happened. During the pandemic, the website hit the first page of Google along with the Google Business Profile. And we had been getting 30, 40, 50 calls a month. But in 2020, it started to creep up to 200 calls, 300 calls, 400 calls a month. It exploded. So I went back to that guy and I said, hey, this is worth, more now. We obviously own the asset. You're renting it out. We're the digital landlord on it. We're going to have to charge more. And he basically said, hey, Adam, I couldn't handle the additional calls you were giving me to begin with. Now that this thing's blowing up, I really can't. And I can't afford to pay you more because he just didn't have his business process and systems in place. He literally just had a job for himself. So he basically told me to kick rocks. So I then started calling every other auto glass company in town. I had phone calls, I had in-person meetings. I mean, I did literally everything. I called up and down everybody in St. Louis. Nobody believed me, even though I had the data to be able to show. I called local shops, corporate chains, the glass doctors of the world, the franchises like Auto Glass Now and Safelite. I tried climbing those corporate ladders, emails, calls, voicemails, all of those things, and nothing worked. But I didn't know what to do because our digital marketing company at the time started to take off a little bit, right? So I wanted to put my full focus there, and there was no real intention of trying to start a business. I just wanted the website off of my plate because I had went full-time in the agency in 2020, and I also wanted to get something of value for it, either to get paid a higher rate or to essentially flip the website. So then I got some advice that changed everything. Someone told me, Adam, you already have the hardest part in most businesses, which is the leads. Just start the company. And at the time it seemed so crazy, but I ended up putting some things into work at the end of 2020. We got the paperwork to be able to launch the Auto Glass Company, officially launched the Auto Glass Company on January 4th of 2021. Found a guy that was an auto detailer who ended up being our first employee. We decided to, again, start the company with literally zero experience in the auto glass space. We got him some training. We got the equipment. We kind of just figured it out together. The trucks that we invested heavily in, the tools, the equipment, the software. And then 2021 ended up being our first full year. We lost a lot of money. I made some bad decisions. I made some bad hires. The guy that ended up starting the company with me only ended up lasting a couple of months. I had no clue what I was doing because I was trying to also be the CEO of the digital marketing agency, the CEO of the Auto Glass Company, and a business partner in a landscape design company too. So I don't recommend doing all of that stuff in 1 year. But we ended up learning pretty quickly. Later in 2021, we brought on an incredible manager. Then in 2022, I brought my uncle in as a partner. He helped rejuvenate the business. Barb came in as well. She's still with the company today. That's when things started to stabilize. That's when some of the real growth started to happen. And from there, it really snowballed. We had a bunch of stuff that ended up getting added in that snowball effect, which is when the real growth actually ended up happening. We added more trucks, more equipment, more technicians. We scaled to months with 1,000 plus leads per month. We dominated and still dominate Google, so we still do the marketing for the owners that took over the company. But we rank for hundreds of keywords, the entire St. Louis metro area coverage, zero paid ads, so the ROI is incredible. All this stuff coming in from SEOs, referrals, reputation, repeat customers, etc. Spending $0 on ads, and then everything else was organic as well. In October of 2025, we had the ability to ultimately sell the company. So we built up the foundation, we built up everything, and then sold it to owners, new ownership on October 1. This business still has that Weebly test site that I built back in 2018 going into 2019. The same Google business profile. At one point, it was essentially only making me $300 in lead rental every single month. I have still never to this day repaired or replaced auto glass. We have zero industry experience out of what we've learned. No background, just digital marketing, lead generation, and the willing to learn what we don't know and execute on. That's the real part here that I want people to understand. This story is about the auto glass industry, but it's really not about the auto glass industry. It's about leverage. We didn't buy a business. We didn't inherit one. We built the demand first, essentially 2 years prior to ultimately ended up starting the company, from the time we built the website to the time that we started the company. This is why inside of our digital marketing agency, we don't just market for service-based businesses. We actively have owned them and still do own other ones like our roofing company and our outdoor living company. We've operated them, we've hired, we've fired, we've scaled, we've lost money, we've fixed it, and now we had our first exit. And that's really what does make us different as a digital marketing agency and why we're the authorities in this space for what we do. We're not going to be the biggest and the loudest because we don't want to be that. We've done that in other agencies. If you can build the demand in business, you can build the business. The rest can absolutely be learned. Business is business 80% of the time. The difference is that 20% that makes it unique to auto glass versus roofing versus running a digital marketing agency. And that is ultimately what you should be taking from this video and watching so much of the content that we talk about what we've done in the auto glass space and in all of these other industries. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you want to get more of these real business stories and digital marketing tips and strategies, not the overnight success nonsense that you might be consistently seeing online. And if you're a contractor or a home service business looking to level up your digital marketing game as we're heading into 2026, then head over to our website or click the link below, buildauthority.com, fill out a contact form, and schedule a call with our team.